Hi, welcome back to the Chicken podcast. My name is Elizabeth. I am a knitter from Sweden, and today I have a quite short knitting podcast episode for you because I want to update you on my 2 finished objects and my 1 work in progress. First things first, I knitted a pair of trousers and they have pockets. So these are the Novita trousers, the Feelgood trousers by Novita, and I knit it on 3.5mm needles in Drops Cotton Merino. I chose 2 green colours. I didn't choose these colours because that's what I wanted. I chose them because I underestimated how much yarn I would need for the base, and then when I realised that I had run out of yarn, they didn't have any more of the same dye lot, so I got this light green instead for an accent. It wasn't purposeful, but I'm happy with it anyway. So this pattern originally does not look like this. I modified it quite heavily. I didn't like how slim the legs were at the very bottom because they were looking more like a tight than a trouser. And as an elderly millennial, I am traumatized by the skinny jean look. I feel so constricted whenever something is too tight around my ankles. I don't like it. I don't like the silhouette. My calves and ankles have done their work for the rest of my life. I feel like I'm entitled to a bit of breeziness around my ankles. So I modified it to have a more relaxed fit around the ankles, and also the biggest modification is that I added pockets. So originally these are just pocketless and I don't think they go as high up as these do, but I split at this point, worked flat, did a gradual decrease and just knit the back section according to pattern-ish. I did include 2 little dots at the sides because I wanted the trousers to fit a bit snugly in the back of in the small of my back, and that's the modification that I made. Then I picked up stitches on the side, knitted a little flap, a pocket shaped and sized flap, which I then sewed down to the inside. So this is not a pocket bag, this is a pocket flap. So I wanted to keep the silhouette quite sleek. You can still see the seam for the pockets through the fabric because the tension between the 2 different fabrics are different, because one is knitted like this and the other one is knitted like that. Next time I knit pockets into a garment, I'm going to have them knitted in the same direction so they pull in the same way and don't get this little ridge. But I am so pleased with my trousers. They have a little drawstring. This is an I-cord that is just miles long. And great stuff. I have been drying them for 2 days and I am very excited to have them finished so I can actually wear them. And the dream is to never wear another pair of trousers, like lounge trousers again, because now I have a pair of knitted trousers. So that is a really long time project too, because I started knitting this in probably February of last year, and then I had a long hiatus just after joining the 2 legs together because I was fairly certain of how I wanted to make the pockets happen, but I was in a burnt out state of mind and I couldn't figure it out, and I couldn't handle the very high potential of failure. So I gave myself grace to not fix this, and now that I'm not burnt out anymore, I picked it back up again and I finished it. I finished with the last little bit of the yarn. I don't have any scraps whatsoever because at the bottom I added a little stripe of the light green as well. So the contrast goes from the pockets back down to the cuffs. And the hang on. There you go. This I-cord little string is just made out of the last few scraps. So this dark green, this is literally all I had left, which is a win in my books. So 10 out of 10, really like this. I am very tempted to knit myself a pair of shorts with pockets as well, because why not? So that might happen. For my next finished object, I have the Rainy February socks, and these are a fun little experiment that I thought up and made happen. I wanted a pair of socks with a rainy window motif, so it is a colour work with just a simple little window chart, and I have added blue glass beads, and I have a little windowsill underneath. I wanted to make these because I had one ball of the Viking Garn Alpaca Storm, and I had the audacity to try and make that be enough. Spoiler alert, it was not enough at all. I also had this bluish grey scrap, which I thought was just the perfect February grey, yucky, is it cold, is it raining, is it snowing vibe to it. And I split it in half, and then I added this little border with the windowsill to make it look even more like an actual window. I underestimated, or I miscalculated the half somehow. So this sock actually has some white at the very bottom, but I think that looks like just a little bit of snow that has blown up against the window. So I'm happy with it either way. So I knit the first sock. Let's see if I can actually feel which sock is which. I can't. I knit the first sock to the point where I started decreasing for the toe, and then I realised that I will probably not have enough. Let's cast on the second one and knit the colour work section, because I have a correspondingly thick black sock yarn from Järbo, and that is not at all the same quality, it's not at all the same feeling. I know for a fact that it felts, and it sort of muddies any design, because I've knit two pairs of socks with this same yarn, and both of them were colourwork socks. That's unfortunate. So I know that it felts and fuzzes, and I didn't want that yarn to be where the colourwork section is, so I broke the yarn for the first sock. I started knitting, and I did actually just get past the colourwork section before I had to swap in for my other yarn. Then I knit and knit and knit and knit. I finished one sock and I realised I didn't have enough of the black to finish the second one, so I ripped back the first toe and knit both socks at the same time until I had no black yarn left, and then I started with the toe. The toe is made with the same yarn that the second black is, so the Järbo, and I just love this. Look at these colours together with the green and the pink. The pink is like a dusty pink, which is not something that I would wear. I'm not a pink wearing person at all. I don't think it suits me, but I love a green. But when I cast on with the green, when I added the green, immediately I thought the contrast between the black and the sort of muted colourway for the windows and the green was just too harsh. So how can I dial it down? Do I want to opt in for a white instead? But the white would also have that problem of being too harsh. So I thought, let's just make the toes a little party. And I did it. I finished the toes with a slipped stitch every other row, just slipping. So it does have a little bit of a zigzag pattern, and it's going to be quite thick and sturdy with the double knitted, not double knitting, the slipped stitches, since one of the stitches go over a float, it means that the fabric is twice as thick, which is very nice, even though I'm always just knitting with one colour at a time. This does not require any two colours held at the same time. So second finished object, these did not turn out like I wanted them, but then in the spirit of my no buy, I didn't want to buy more yarn. These specifically have been called the rainy February socks in my mind, which means that I don't want to wait until my no buy is over to finish them, because I wanted them to be finished in February so I could wear them. It's now the 1st of March, so I missed that by one day, but that's fine. And my goal picture with these socks was to be able to wear them, to have the colourwork peeking out on top of my Doc Martens, my low-rise Doc Martens. It's been really, really cold and snowy and slushy and salty in the city where I live, and that hasn't been very compatible with the Doc Martens, low-rise Doc Martens. What are they called? Ankle Doc Martens? They have a style name. Are they called derby shoes or derby shoes? So I figured that even though this toe is not what I had planned, it's fine. So when I wear my Docs, I can wear these to peek out, and when I'm wearing my Birkenstocks, these toes are going to be peeking out as well. So I think that's a fun, quite utilitarian way of looking at it. Didn't turn out as sleek and neat and elevated as I was hoping, but it ended up being perfectly serviceable and fun. So depending on the audience and depending on what shoe I'm wearing, different parts of this is going to shine. But I don't think this is something that I will want to wear to be shown as a whole, if you know what I mean. I don't think that this is like a standalone piece to be seen in its entirety at the same time. I knit these on my 2.5mm DPNs. Hallelujah for DPNs, love them. Can't get my head around a circular needle or a magic loop for socks. It's just, don't get it. I started with 72 stitches, increased up till 80 to do the colour work, and then I decreased down to 64 for the foot to get a snug fit that doesn't slide around in my Docs, and I'm happy with them too. I am really a fan of me now growing my sock collection drawer, because I was given so many beautiful hand knit socks by my great aunt while she was alive. She would knit socks for all of us children during the entirety of my childhood. We were given socks for Christmas and for our birthdays, and since I have two siblings with larger feet than I got all of the socks that they grew out of, so they have far fewer socks than I do, and my mother has smaller feet than I, so I have all of the socks that are a size 39 to 40, and my mother has all of the socks that are 37, 38, and my siblings have the bigger ones. So I have so many knitted socks, but they are wearing out. I lost my great aunt 11 years ago now, and I wear her socks all the time. They are so beautiful, they are so well made, and they are starting to wear out. So I love to wear her socks on occasion and to wear my own socks to sort of let her socks live longer. I also darned some of her socks, because it's a waste of work and love and sock to just throw a sock out because it's getting a bit thin. But after darning a sock 2 or 3 times, it's just too threadbare. I've washed them so many times. So growing my sock collection for myself with socks that aren't as precious to me as the hand knitted socks by my great aunt is a very meaningful thing to me. In the spirit of my no-buy, I was looking around for a suitable pattern to knit for a fairly mindless knit, and I settled on the V-neck Friday slipover by PetiteKnit. I had a bunch of yarn left over from a sweater that I knit for my partner, the alpaca by Sandnes Garn, in this lovely greyish muted brown, sort of a cool toned brown with a grey halo or haze around it. And I cast it on with all of the scraps for that had been left over when I shortened the sleeves for my partner's sweater. I have now unravelled all of the last pieces of the first iteration of the sweater and have one ball left of the untouched yarn. So I am on my way to completely finishing all of the yarn, not having any scraps left, which feels great. But I think you can see where I hit a little bit of a snag with this. So I knit this in a size medium on a 4mm needle, and this has a broken rib pattern which is very easy to follow, and I tried it on once I had joined it in the round and thought, this is a bit big. I don't want to go rip all of this back and reclaim the yarn for a third time. So I will make it a bit smaller by picking up slightly fewer stitches around the armhole and slightly fewer stitches around the neckline to sort of make it cinch in. This is the neck hole for a child. I picked up far too few stitches and I didn't realise that before I had done the Italian bind off on all of the 150 stitches that I have right here. I am supposed to have 50, 60 more stitches around this V-neck, so it shouldn't come as a surprise that this is far too small. But I was very surprised when I found out that it was too small. So I feel a bit silly about that, but it's fine. I knit this while I was talking to the phone on my older brother. I knit this V-neck while I was talking on the phone with my brother, and it was great. We had a great time. So it's not like I actively feel like I lost any time, and I will just have to unpick the Italian bind off that I did and reknit it. It's not a big deal. It's going to take me an hour and a half maybe, and that's fine. And when I say an hour and a half, I mean that the Italian bind off itself is going to take me an hour, and the knitting is going to take an hour and a half. So far, perfectly happy with this. This is the first time I'm ever knitting a PetiteKnit pattern, and I see some of the appeal and some of it I don't quite see, because I found that it does do a lot of hand holding for the knitter, but at the same time it skips some of the parts that should be included in a hand holding. So it feels like they are skipping some of the parts that are least obvious and telling me some of the things that are most intuitive. So what was I thinking in particular? It was something about picking up stitches or joining in the round where I thought it wasn't perfectly clear, but I made it work. It's not, I mean, I understand why her patterns are so famous and loved. The yarn is secondhand sorted from Sandnes Garn, and you can see why. Here in the middle is a stripe of the same dye lot. All of this is the same dye lot, but this is quite a lot darker than the rest, and I think there are some colour inconsistencies across the project as a whole. I now am going to, before I do any more lengthwise, I'm going to unpick and redo the entire v-neck, because that needs to be finished and I need to know that I have enough yarn for that before I then go and knit as far as I can on the bottom. I am considering, instead of a 1x1 rib all around, I wonder if I should do a split seam on the side and knit the 1x1 rib in the same size as my main size, because the armholes and the neckline is knit on a 3.5mm needle and the body is on a 4, and if I knit it on a 4 I can have the ribbing lay flatter and not cinch in as much, because I don't want it to be tight around the waist and then puff out. I want it to be sort of straight. So I will have to do some thinking about that. I also don't know how far I can actually stretch the yarn that I have left, because I think that, hang on, I think that this join is where I joined the last ball, so this much length is the maximum I can get. And do I then want to join, do I want to keep it in the round, or do I want to split, or what am I going to do? So plan of action for this: unpick, v-neck and reknit, then do a mid-project block to see how far the length actually stretches once it has been blocked, and then continue with the length, deciding at that point if I split or if I do it in the round. So that is that for today's episode, because I don't have any new acquisitions. As I told you, I am on a no-buy for yarn and for knitting related paraphernalia. I'm very, very, very tempted, however, to buy yarn and knit sailor slippers. I have been invited to a bachelorette weekend later in the spring, and I would love to knit all of us a pair of sailor slippers to remember the weekend with, but that would require me buying yarn, and I don't want to break my no-buy now that I have 1 month left out of the 3. So I think I will have to wait. I hope you enjoyed today's episode. If you did, please remember to like and subscribe to the channel, and I hope to see you in my next one. Bye.